good.
If that, if that presents itself. So you talked about, thoughts on death. What are the feelings, though? Do you feel like
Well, that's a I was going to say it's a good question, but it really ain't that great. It's kind of an obvious one.
Yeah.
You know, I don't really feel anything about it much anymore. But then sometimes I get upset about my life and about being sick. So it's an odd thing. I must be still having, dark and afraid feelings about it. Otherwise, I wouldn't be, so strung out about being sick. But I don't know. Sitting here talking about it, it's not really that I'm afraid of death. It's that I'm afraid of not living. Because I do really, I'm a depressive, so it might appear otherwise, but I really do enjoy life. Life is like just a real gas. It's so full of possibility. I think that's the thing, it's like I just really, I'm an artist, so I'm creative, and I have an imagination and a motivation toward imagination, or with imagination. So I'm like, there's just all this stuff that I want to do. And I guess that's it. Death is this wall where I can't do what I want to do. The show is over. And I really do enjoy the show. There's a man named James P. Carse who wrote a book called Finite and Infinite Games. And I've talked to you about that before. But I think he's really got it right. And ever since I read that book, and it also goes along, it's very Zen-like, which was quite the vogue in the 70s to be Zen-like, But, and I don't know that the book was written in the 70s, but that's a lot of my philosophical frame of reference is the 70s, the neo-hippie thing, But I really am not interested in winning, and I'm really not that concerned about losing. I just want to keep, creating. I just want to keep the dance up. I don't really care about winning the race, just as long as I get to run as fast as I want to. It's like crossing the finish line. Well, shit. You mean I don't get to run anymore out in the sun? That's, I remember when video games first came out, and there was this one. It was a simulation of championship wrestling, and so I remember somebody handed me a controller. I was like, let me see that, because it looked kind of cool to me. And the guy was like, choose your person. So I chose a person. Can't remember what it was. But to get to the point, they were chasing me around. Their little automaton was chasing me around the ring. But I was like jumping back and forth across the rope, running out the audience, jumping back up in, pick up a chair, make it do some flips. And they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, I don't want to fight you, I just want to make this thing run around the ring. This is what's cool to me, is that we can do this, that I'm standing here and there's this automaton, this video automaton representing me. That's what's interesting to me. I don't have no interest in hurting your automaton. Why can't they both just be in the ring? Because they have these, bizarre costumes on, and they're like, and like that. That's cool, Why do they have to hurt one another, And they got completely frustrated with me. You know, like, no, man, you know, pick up a chair, do something, you know. No, why, you know? What's the point? You know, there's enough ring for both of them, you know.
Yeah. So, God forbid this should go off into talking about video games and automatons and all that. Let's keep it depressing and keep talking.
Sure,
about
yeah,
that.
let's, yeah.
So, uh, so the idea that not only will you not be living or playing the game as you previously were at
Right,
any rate,
right.
but it also calls into question how, you know, a judgment of sorts, a self-judgment, or a evaluation of what you did and didn't do during your life. Is that part of your thought
Well,
process, you know?
yeah, you know, honestly, I have thoughts and ideas about that, but I resolve that with a self-admonition against greed. You know, it's human to always want more, you know, and so life is so great, you know, especially if you're an artist. Life as an artist is amazing. Now, a lot of artists are crazy, I guess, or whatever, but or maybe whatever the reasons. A lot of people who are artists don't look at it this way. But I really feel lucky or blessed or whatever. But to be an artist and be alive is, my word, just such a powerful, fantastic high. You know, because I'm constantly creating. And there's always a new world to wake up to when you're an artist. I can always see things in a new and different way. I can constantly, you know, synthesize and fabricate new realms in my imagination. You know? So and it's just very entertaining. You know, I'm always fascinated with life. And it annoys a lot of the people around me, you know. And that's regrettable because if enough people get annoyed, then I lose my audience, you know. But, I really enjoy having an audience. So, yeah, how much, you know, should I have done this, should I have done that? You know, yeah, you know, I definitely deal with that. But at the same time, I'm as an artist, I'm prone to narcissism, and I don't know if it's narcissism. It might actually be accurate, but I think what I do is so powerful and so important that even if nobody knows my name, they'll know of me. And that's my motivation in life daily, is to make a difference, to leave my stamp. You know, I've told you before about that thing I saw on TV where they were talking about Gautama the Buddha sitting under the Bodhi tree, or Bodhi tree, or whatever, you know, the tree of enlightenment, and he was sitting there, and he had his, you know, epiphany, his enlightenment or whatever, and the great big demon appears before him and says, "Ha ha ha ha! Well, it won't matter, you know, how enlightened you've become, because no one will ever know about it." You know? I don't know why. I guess the demon was threatening to kill him or something. And the Buddha says the universe will know. You know? That seems kind of nonsensical on its face. But, you know, I mean, that's why I feel like there's no mistake. Well, I'll go off into another train of thought, but let me finish this one. So I do what I do, how I do it, and it doesn't matter just as long as it's mine, you know? And because in that way, I'm of value to somebody else, because nobody else can get what I've done anywhere else. So in that way, there really aren't any mistakes, you know, in life. You know, the only thing really is not having enough of it. You know, wanting more. But you know, so there's endless possibilities. You know, so you know that's kind of I kind of can go into like a little bit about. It's a different topic, but it explains why I'm an experimentalist in art, in music, in whatever. Because, you know, I'm trying to make more life. You know? Just more possibilities, you know? As long as there's possibilities, there's life. You know, even if I'm dead, if I can create new possibilities for somebody else, you know, then I live on at some level. You know? And that's a lot of fun. I mean, you've seen my shows, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, going on all the time.
Well, I'm always entertaining. You know, I'm always trying to entertain people. But I'm talking about when I've been on stage.
Right.
They're always about life. They're about something being born. Right then and there. You know? And that's why I like this whole thing about people learning songs and you know, bands learning songs and putting on shows. Like, what a waste of time. What a waste of life. To play the same thing the same way everywhere you go. What a waste of life. That's a death. That's being a rock when you could be a tree. You know? We've got records. And we got jukeboxes to play them on. Our CDs or whatever. Our sound files now. So, let those corpses sit there. Be alive. Create more life. Give life. You know? Let something be born in every minute you're awake and every moment your mind is active. Let something be being born. You know? Constantly experiment. Constantly, you know, knock it down and put it back together a different way.